Welcome back to Nickel Nation. We've been on this case before. This isn't our first deep dive into the mystery surrounding Bryon Macron. We have plenty of previous episodes. I implore you to please go back and watch them if you haven't. But what we're about to hear today isn't a rehash. It's about new interviews, old lies, and contradictions that have been buried longer than some of the evidence itself. We've got voices, detectives, witnesses, and people who were there. You'll hear their own words, and we'll dissect them. This isn't about parroting the sheriff's narrative, if you haven't already figured that out. It's about tearing it open. Stick around. So, Tentacle Nation, if you're new here, consider liking and subscribing so you don't miss what's coming next. Everything you need, contact, support, case tips, and case submission is in one place. I'll put a QR code right here, or you can go to www.theinfamousxchief.com. Got a case tip? Use the tip submission form. Got a case you want me to dig into? Send it through the case submission form. You also can join our Discord community and be part of the conversation. And if you want to help keep the lights on, you can buy me a cup of coffee, or better yet, join the Patreon for behind-the-scenes content at least once a month. And just so it's clear, I have never accepted a single dollar from any victim's family. My support comes directly from you, the audience, and keeps this channel going. Bryon's last known whereabouts, the Lafayette Township Administration Building. A bloody scene inside, 4 miles away. His SUV sits parked at Chippewa Lake. Blood inside, but no Bryon. 2 months later, 67 days, a kayaker spots a bump in the water. Autopsy says no water in his lungs, meaning Bryon was likely dead before he ever touched the lake. And here's the detail you won't see in the sheriff's pressers. There was no evidence of animal or maritime life feeding on the body or tissue, despite the claim that he was in the lake or on land and washed into the lake later for over 2 months. Medina County still labeled it basically a suicide. Victoria Macron, the widow, never believed it, and now with what we know, neither should you. Now, I know we've seen this in previous episodes, but in case you haven't seen it, let's bring in a previous interview by now Sheriff Terry Grace with the Medina County Sheriff's Department.
Is there a chance that this case could be reopened?
Absolutely.
Major breaking news out of Medina County 3 years after the case was closed.
19 Investigates has learned the Sheriff's Department is once again actively looking into Bryon Macron's case. The local township trustee disappeared back in 2016. Months later, his body was found in a lake.
How he died, of course, remains a mystery, but new questions have just come to the surface. 19 Investigates' Nicole Versansky has the exclusive breaking developments.
Is there new evidence?
There's new questions.
New questions regarding the death of Bryon Macron. For years, investigators have concluded no one else was involved in Macron's death. Could new information reveal something different?
We have to meet with some first responders that were there when he was recovered at the lake.
Was there anything tied to Bryon's body? That is just one of the new questions being investigated.
I think that's the questions we want to look at. Figure out more information from that team that was out there. My question is, if that was the case, why that wasn't shared in 2017.
Bryon Macron, a Lafayette Township trustee, a husband, a girl dad, a Marine, disappeared December 16th, 2016. Inside the town hall, his last known whereabouts, a bloody scene. 4 miles away at Chippewa Lake, Bryon's black SUV parked in the cold. His blood inside, but no sign of the 45-year-old. 2 months go by, and then the discovery.
Saw a little bump in the water up ahead.
A kayaker found Bryon's body in Chippewa Lake. An autopsy revealed no fluid in his lungs, meaning Bryon was likely dead before entering the water. Puzzling to the Medina County coroner.
It was. We don't feel he drowned.
So how would his body have gotten in the water?
That's one of the mysteries. We don't know.
Also unknown, Bryon's cause of death, ruled undetermined. He had 6 stab or cut wounds, but the coroner says none of those injuries would have been deadly. However, Dr. Duranick has suggested that hypothermia could have come into play. The Macron case was ultimately closed in 2020.
Nothing has ever identified another individual as being in that building, in that car, or at that scene.
The Medina County prosecutor, the Sheriff's Department, and BCI finding no evidence to indicate anyone else being involved, meaning that Bryon staged his own elaborate death.
No.
Victoria Macron has never believed that.
I said, I know my husband, and I know this is not what you're telling me.
Do you think someone killed your husband?
I do. I believe my husband knew something.
Victoria has been dissecting every piece of the evidence, questioning the investigation, fighting for the case to be reopened.
I fight for him. I fight for him. We had a love like no other.
It was Victoria and her team who brought these new questions to the current Medina County Sheriff.
They raised questions for me. When I say questions enough that I said, we need to find the answer, because I understand why that would be a question for someone else. So that's why we're looking into it.
Sheriff Grice was not with Medina County Sheriffs when Bryon went missing, but the case has his attention, and Victoria is not backing down.
If you think I'm walking away, I'm not, because this is not him, and there would be no reason for him to do this. So that's why I'm so firm in my thoughts that someone did this.
Now the question, was something tied around Bryon's body weighing him down? Captain Ross says right now there are conflicting reports from first responders who were there when his body was pulled from the water. They are looking into that, and they could be conducting tests similar to a lie detector in the near future.
So again, a couple of quick things that I want to interject here before moving on. You have Forrest Thompson, the Medina County Sheriff's Department, on this presser here talking about how there's no evidence of any external activity other than Bryon being at the scene, and that's simply not true. I believe through this series we've shown where there is evidence beyond Bryon simply. I do believe that even in this episode, we're going to talk about an email that was sent to BCI to confirm from the Medina County Sheriff's Office relative to some unknown DNAs that they wanted to know if they were involved in the CODIS system, which, again, the CODIS system is a system that constantly analyzes DNAs from arrestees or from known cases that are submitted into CODIS. And so they compare almost on a daily basis to unknowns. There, I believe, is one piece of evidence that's fitting for CODIS, one that does not have the detail that's required for CODIS. However, there is sufficient enough detail for a comparison if they were to bring in another set of DNA from a known person and they compared it. There's enough DNA to match that way. CODIS is very strict. They have to have a lot of points of reference. There's a certain amount that's required, and if the DNA is below that level, even though it can be positively identified with a manual match, it will not be accepted into CODIS. But so we're going to go back. We're talking about this press release from Channel 19 in 2020 with Sheriff Terry Grice. So when attorney Peter Padicus' letter landed, and attorney was representing Victoria Macron, the widow of Bryon Macron, it raised a chilling question. Was something tied to Bryon's body to weigh him down? Now, in that interview, you just heard Grice admits there were conflicting reports from the first responders. That's not just sloppy. That's 3 years of question that's left unasked. You also heard the Medina County coroner, who actually did not perform the autopsy. The Cuyahoga County medical examiner actually performed the autopsy. But you actually hear the Medina County coroner state, hey, there's nothing in his lungs, or very little water in his lungs. So he didn't drown. He was dead before he went in the water. And the reporter asked, well, how did he end up there? And her response is, well, that's just a mystery. So even though, again, it's ruled undetermined and there's all sorts of these answers that are still left pending, they closed the case. But we're going to talk about some interviews coming up here, so stick around. So the first interview that we are going to queue up is an interview with a telephone call, recorded telephone call. Apparently is the only thing that's warranted here with the Medina County Sheriff's Department. We have Detective Dimmerswitch, a.k.a. Detective Reese, contacting Tracy Eisenberg or Eisenberg. And this name has come up before, if you recall, in the, 2-3 episodes previous, when we were talking about the most recent interview that we know of from Michael Costello. This name is brought up relative to Costello calling this number to a Tracy Eisenberg. Now, I will give the caveat, I'm not entirely certain, without going back to the records, which I probably should have done. I'm not entirely certain that the detective is correct that Michael Costello contacted Tracy Eisenberg. I don't think he contacted her on the phone. And if I am incorrect, I know there are sleuths out there that have this evidence far more memorized than I do. Feel free to comment below or message me. I don't believe that Michael Costello, being fully objective, called Tracy Eisenberg. I believe the question was supposed to be, when he was asking Michael Costello, I believe the question was supposed to be, did he have any knowledge of who Tracy was? Because there was allegations that Michael Costello would frequent the house at 61 Bungalow Bay. So we're going to get into this interview. This telephone interview here.
Hello?
Hi, is this Tracy?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Tracy. This is Detective Reese with the Medina County Sheriff's Office. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. So the reason I'm calling is we have a cold case, basically, and a couple of the attorneys that were looking into the case were kind of curious as to a phone call that had been made to you.
Okay.
The person that had called you was a Michael Costello. Do you know who that is by chance?
Mike Costello. No. Do you know when he would have called me?
It would have been December of 2016. He's a Township Trustee for, actually, no, he didn't call you, sorry. He actually he goes to the house over on,
So right there, he actually does admit that, and I thought there was a reason that I didn't think that Costello called. Right there, Detective Dimmerswitch admits that he screwed up. So the question is, when he was talking to Michael Costello, he's asking this question, well, hey, did you call Tracy Eisenberg, *67? Hey, I actually got to give Michael Costello, even though I vehemently do not like that guy, I have to give him credit that he was telling the truth, at least relative to that question, because I believe the detective just got it screwed up.
in Chippewa Lake, Bungalow Bay, I believe.
Our house, yeah, our house is 61 Bungalow Bay.
Okay, so sorry, I was getting the two phone numbers mixed up. There was a phone number that he had called on one day, and then this one is he apparently was. They thought that maybe he had been at this house, Bungalow Bay. Did you guys ever have anyone that maybe looked after the house? I know your dad used to own the house, and now it's in your mom's name.
Yeah, my dad just died.
I'm sorry to hear that. I saw that when I was looking up the stuff.
It was in 2016 he would have been at our house?
Correct. That's what they believe. They're just trying to
Michael Costello.
Yeah, he was a township trustee for Lafayette Township. They said he had been at this...
Wait a minute, he's not the man that... Did he die?
Dying?
Did he die, or is he still alive?
Costello's still alive. The other gentleman who drowned was found in the lake is the one that died. That was Bryon Macron.
And that was like a lot.
And did you hear the Freudian slip up there? He drowned. Otter said, I think, translated it as something, some other word. But, the other gentleman, he drowned. When, again, there's physical evidence that actually shows, forensic evidence, that there was, the autopsy, that there was nothing in his lungs. So, again, Detective Dimmerswitch has no idea even what he's talking about or what he's asking questions relative to.
Yeah, I'm just new to this story from. Do you mind if I step outside? I'm going to step outside. I'm in Cracker Barrel and it's loud. I think I know what this is about. I mean, I think I know what happened. You said 2016. Could it have been 2017? Or no, it was 2016.
It would have been the night of December 15th. Was anyone supposed to be at that house at 61 Bungalow Bay that you can recall? I know it may not have been your call, so.
Yeah, we don't live there full time. It's just our, but there was a situation, and somebody called my son first this morning.
Yeah, that was me.
Before calling me. Okay, and that's Doug, my son Doug. He got married and I don't know if this is connected, but he got married in 2017, and they had like a get together there before he got married.
Okay.
I don't know when it was, if it was it, but not. And somebody saw, and Doug could tell this more clearly, but somebody saw somebody in our cottage and called the police and said they thought the murderer, this is very strange, thought the murderer was in our cottage. And they came and got my son, who clearly wasn't the murderer,
right.
And they took him outside and, questioned him or whatever, and clearly he was, but nothing to do with it. We don't, but that's the only connection.
So it's possible that your son was there in December having a get-together before the wedding?
Well, his wedding was April 8th, so I don't know if it would have been in
Did he
December.
do like a bachelor party or anything like that, or like hang out with his friends or anything like that, by chance?
Just a couple guys. My son's like never had a drink and never doesn't. I mean, he's just, well, let's see, in the nicest way, he's nerdy. He's a great guy. But their parties would be like, my parties would be wilder, and that's it, not saying much. but he was there, meaning bachelor party, it was just his cousin and I think one friend.
Okay.
So it wasn't a party.
And so the three of them probably would have been staying at this as a vacation home or just like a time.
Yeah, I spend a lot. No, it's my dad's house. Okay. I spend a lot of time there. I just left there yesterday.
Okay.
But that night after the police came, it scared the bejesus out of my son, and I actually went and got him and brought him home, so he didn't even spend the evening there.
You did? Like you guys went there, or you went to pick him up?
He wouldn't know. Let's see. He got married April 8th of 2017. He might know the date. I can ask him the date.
Okay. I might be able to even look it up to see.
His name's Doug Eisenberg.
Let's see if I can.
But he literally did nothing. I mean, he was very traumatized by that.
Right.
The police pulled him out and put him on the ground and stuff, and we don't live there. We have nothing to do with anything that went on there.
And I didn't think you did. Like I said, I still have to follow up with what they're saying, and just to see if there was possibly anyone that was supposed to be at the house, if it was possible anyone was at the house.
You said December 15th?
Yeah, 2016.
I'm the main one that's there, December 15th. I can ask, I don't know this Michael Costello. That name doesn't ring a bell at all.
Okay.
But I just knew the story because it was of somebody found in the lake or something.
Right.
But I don't know. We really don't know anybody at Chippewa. It's our getaway.
Okay. And there's no problem.
But I can ask my kids.
Yeah, I mean, if he happens to recall what date it was, or if there's a possibility that he has it written down, or if he knows that they had like a bachelor party or some type of get-together over there in the wintertime, I mean, that would...
Yeah, December 15th.
That would put this part of the whole thing at ease. And then they wouldn't...
Yeah.
We can go ahead and wrap it up and close it.
Okay. I'll check with my husband and with the kids and stuff to see if for some reason we were there.
Okay.
And knowing me, if we were there, I'd probably have it on my calendar.
It's very possible.
Okay.
It just depends. And like I said, it's not anything I know of. I just know that, hey, someone said that there were people here at this house, or there was a person here at this house that he walked outside and then ran back inside when someone saw him.
In our house?
It was that's what the story is. I don't know if it's for sure because I don't see any call for someone doing that. So I'm still, like I said, I'm still looking into everything that the attorneys are telling me. I'm catching it all secondhand.
So a couple of things I wanted to pause because I think I eventually we'll bring this back up relative to my public records request to 61 Bungalow Bay. I requested records because, again, I was looking for December of 2016, and I honestly try to be as courteous as I can to the Medina County Sheriff's Department with the records request. So I just asked for December of 2016 call records to several different locations. 61 Bungalow is one of them, and they had no call for service at that record or at that address for that time frame, December 2016. But I do find it interesting. It doesn't appear that there is any call for service there because this detective has just basically stated the same thing. I looked and I can't find anything like that. So this entire incident that her son clearly is traumatized by this stop by officers that think that he's the murderer of Bryon Macron. Unless there's some sort of other murderer alleged to be running around Chippewa Lake. It has to be around that time. And I think on the follow-up conversation we have, interview, I think it's explained a little better, but that's the only thing that makes any logical sense. But I wanted to pause and just basically talk about the public records request. I'm going to probably talk about it a little later. My public records request, there's no calls for activity at 61 Bungalow Bay. So again, it goes back to the complete sloppiness of the Medina County Sheriff's Department. If you respond to this house and you have a call for service, or if you are preempted there some other way, somebody stops you and says, hey, there's a weird guy at that house at 61 Bungalow Bay. Either way, that should be in the CAD, the computer-aided dispatch system. It's not. It's just one more piece of sloppiness that it's just an avalanche. This entire case is just an avalanche of negligence and sloppiness. And you're more than welcome to differ with me. I get comments once in a while, but nobody really gives me any specific answers or specific instances of what they're trying to back up. So feel free, drop it in the comments. Tell me how this is not the sloppiest investigation anyone has seen.
So.
Yeah, and our screen door, we have a screened-in front porch there, and the screened-in front porch locks also. So, I don't know how. And if we're there, it could have been unlocked.
But no one else would think
I'm going to check with somebody
besides relatives of yours, correct?
Oh, no. Well, my dad, which we completely disagree with him, I didn't get the name of this person, too. He gave somebody a key to repair a leak, and we were like, my dad was 85, and so right. he gave somebody a key to fix a leak inside, and we were just like, don't give keys out, to people, and the neighbor across the street, who's about the only person I know there, she knew the name of the person he gave the key to and said that she thought that guy was okay. and I wanted to get the key back. And my dad was like, "Oh no, he's fine." And I'm like, "You don't give the key to somebody."
Right.
So I'll ask that lady too at Chippewa, like what that person's name is.
That'll work. Thank you very much. I appreciate your help on this.
Okay. Okay, I will ask everybody and I'll let you know what I find out.
Okay, and you can just call me back on that phone number I gave you earlier, okay?
Okay.
All
right, thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Uh-huh.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
So, again, Detective Dimmer Switch calls Tracy Eisenberg, who honestly is probably the most forthright witness I have heard in the Bryon Macron case. Tracy, if you happen to watch this, or if anybody knows Tracy, give her the thumbs up, because I generally feel this lady is actually trying to help and assist. I'm probably the only witness that I've heard in this case. She's doing everything in her power to recall. She's going to contact. We're going to have another interview here in a second with her, a follow-up interview. So, again, he calls about activity at her family's house around Chippewa Lake home on the December 15th, 2016. Her son, Doug's bachelor party, ? A couple of friends, police showing up. That's what stuck with her and traumatized him. So let's get into the second interview.
Hello?
Hi, is this Tracy?
Yes.
Hi, Tracy. It's Detective Reese again. I was just calling to see if you had any update on whether or not you were able to find out who that individual was.
I did. I went there and asked a neighbor, and the neighbor gave me his name, which was Gary, and the last name Groetz.
Can you spell
And then Groetz. And then I went yesterday, and I was outside washing windows, and that man stopped at the cottage and gave me the key. Okay. And I guess from I'm guessing the neighbor must have told him that I asked. Yeah. And from what I can gather, he's a really reputable. Like, everybody there seems to know him, and I guess he used to live on our street. And I didn't know him, but it seemed like he had a truck with his business name on it and stuff. Right.
Okay. And did you happen to talk to your son about whether or not he remembered what day he was out at the house by chance?
Yeah, he was not there. We looked up on our phones what we were doing on that day, and it's December 15th of 2016. Is that right?
Correct.
We were getting we were at a Christmas concert for a child that morning, and then we were getting the tuxes for his wedding that evening here in Lorraine where we live. And then I had my daughter checked too, and she was in the emergency room with a friend, and so I asked someone at Chippewa, and they said that there was a squatter that was living on people's porches, but that they couldn't have gotten on ours because they would have had to break our lock, and our lock was never broken.
Okay. And then, for some reason, there's a mention of a fence going up shortly after.
And no offense to Tracy, this is, something that Detective Dimmerswitch should have brought her back to. She never actually says when the date was that supposedly the police department came and stopped and ID'd her son. She never actually says it. She tells her story. Detective Dimmerswitch should have brought her back on task because the question was never actually answered when that occurred.
Of the individual that we're looking into, do you guys happen to know, like, when you put up a new fence by chance?
Yeah, April of this year.
April of this year?
Yeah, and we did that because I had my first grandson on February 13th, and we wanted to go to the cottage and be able to take the dogs, and we couldn't walk the dogs because we now had a baby.
Right. Did you guys put one before that, back in 2016?
No, never.
Okay. Was there anything done to any of the fences that were on the property at that time?
We've never had a fence until right now. It took a long time to talk my dad into it, and then we finally convinced him when the baby was born.
Right.
To put the fence, but no, we've never had any type of fence whatsoever.
Okay, and that's 61 Bungalow Bay, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
When did they say a fence was put in? Back in 2016?
Yeah.
No, it was put in.
16 time frame, yeah.
No, and I have all the paperwork if you need to see it. And plus I had to get a permit from the city. The Home Depot put the fence in. We literally just put it in. We've only had it, April, so 2 or 3 months.
Alrighty. Well, I thank you for your time and finding out all the information for me and letting me know.
Do you know how they got my name or why they wanted?
So I had called. I was trying to actually get a hold of your mother, and then I called one of her old associates over at the funeral home, and he said reach out to Tracy instead because her mother's kind of a little bit disturbed currently due to everything going on with her husband and her husband passing away. He said reach out to you instead, that you may know a little more and may be able to give me more information than she would be able to.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely the one that goes there. I don't think she'll ever go back there because she's 86 and they've been together since 5th grade, married 64 years, and he just died. So, yeah, I'm glad you called me and not her.
I figured I'd give you guys that courtesy because I looked up his name first, and I was like, oh, he just passed away. That's terrible.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else you want us to do?
No, I think we're good. I don't need anything else. If anything else does happen to come up, do you mind if I give you a call back? And
Oh, no, definitely. Okay. Do you know who is it somebody from Chippewa that's giving you the information about that we had a fence and stuff?
Yeah, I don't believe it was them. It's someone, it's the attorney of the deceased. His family.
Oh, I see. I thought that's from my dad. You mean the person there? Okay.
Yeah, the one that passed away in the lake.
Okay, if you want any, I have total proof that we never had anything there until April. If you ever need any of that.
And so this is a little bit frustrating because I don't know. I can actually see it go either way, but if you're going to be extremely thorough, you're already making this call in 2020 of an incident that happened in 2016. She's offering you some evidence relative to this fence, and we haven't talked about the fence yet. There's some questions relative to this fence. When did it go up? Why did it go up necessarily? But she's offering, I mean, it's a question you're asking her, so she's offering you the evidence. Why not take it? I mean, I can understand it might be a minute detail at this point, but you're already calling her about it, so why not ask her, hey, yeah, can you mind, just go ahead and email it over to me. And then you can just make it part of the file. It's just Detective Dimmerswitch gets under my skin.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
So, Tracy Eisenberg names a neighbor, Gary Groetz, assuming that's how it's pronounced, Groetz, as the man with the key. She kills the new fence rumor. No fence up until April of 2023. And again, we haven't talked about it yet. This is what frustrates me when I jump ahead in the timeline. We haven't fully described what's happening here, but need you to keep that in the back of your mind relative to this fence. She said she installed the fence for her grandson and dogs. She even offers permits and receipts. He never gets them. He never gets the paperwork. Here's what gets interesting. I filed the public records request to the Medina County Sheriff's Office for all the calls for service and CAD entries at 61 Bungalow Bay for December 2016. And the Sheriff's Office responded that they have no records of any law enforcement activity there. So if police did respond that night, where's the report? The other issue is that the Detective Dimmerswitch never locks her down as relative to the date that her son was stopped by police and identified trying to figure out the murderer, because again, it had to have been somewhere in that time frame. I mean, how many, people from Chippewa, let me know. Is there multiple murders that have happened there? I don't know. I mean, if he stopped and police are asking him, well, hey, the caller says you have something to do with the murder, I'm assuming it's the Bryon case, but maybe it's not. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. All right, so everybody remember the interview from Sheriff Terry Grice I played earlier, right? New questions relative to Was something tied around Bryon Macron? We're going to talk about a guy named Josh Knopfs. At least that's his name at this point. We'll talk about that in a second. Again, this is one of the key things that the sheriff brings up. Hey, we need answers to this question. And we have a 1 minute, less than 1 minute, 1 minute conversation with Josh Knopfs over the phone. Now, we're going to bring up some reports because apparently he lawyers up at some point, gets an attorney, and refuses to continue to cooperate with police. But let's listen to his interview.
At least it's drivable. She can take it to school. I haven't talked to her. I don't want to talk to her.
Hello?
Hi, is this Josh Wilfong?
Yes, it is.
This is Detective Reese from the Medina County Sheriff's Office. How are you?
Good.
So the reason I'm calling is in reference to an apparent statement you had made to someone that was on the Lafayette Fire Department back when Bryon Macron was pulled out of the lake. They're saying that you told them that when they were pulling him out of the lake, you had to cut something off of his foot. Do you recall making this statement or anything like that?
No.
No, you never made that statement?
No.
Okay. Do you know why they would be saying that you did, by chance?
Not a clue.
Okay. Let's see who I think. Andrew Berger? Do you know him?
Yes.
Okay. So that's who's saying it. So that's what I'm trying to... he apparently wrote on this website, their Bryon Macron page, saying that you had told them that, or told him that you had cut something off of Bryon's foot to be able to pull him out of the lake. But that's false. You never did anything like that.
Correct.
Okay. That is all I need, sir. Sorry for waking you up.
Have a good day.
Thank you, too.
Bye.
So, Detective Dimmerswitch Reese asked about a claim that he cut something off Bryon's foot during recovery. Josh denies it flat. That claim came from another firefighter, the same one making questionable statements about the recovery. This ties directly back to the weighed down theory. Now, originally, when I had recorded this, apparently I completely forgot about this section, so I had to come back and make sure that I dropped this, all right? So this is a report. We're going to go over a supplemental report written by the Medina County Sheriff's Department on August 30th, 2023. All right? We're going to go, sort of line by line through this. Now, mind you, the next segment that's coming up here is going to be relative to the messages that Josh Knopfs had sent to Victoria Macron, and he sent those messages in 2020. So remember, 2016, Bryon goes missing. 2017, Bryon is recovered from Chippewa Lake. So there's going to be conversation relative to, well, he made these statements, out of emotion, just out past the recovery point to Miss Macron. So I wanted to give you some background because I think it's important when I'm reading this to you. This whole investigation is nothing but total lies, as it seems. So let's go over the report here. All right. So somehow a deputy Larry Covey has now taken over. So the very first top line, let's talk about that. On August 28th, 2023 at approximately 9:50 a.m., I was contacted by Christopher Eimel, and I want you to look at the way Christopher spelled the first time because it's either misspelled here or misspelled later, but I don't know. An attorney who is representing Josh Wilfong. Again, Josh Knopfs, currently. Knopfs. I was informed Josh would not be coming in for an interview, and anything further to deal with this matter would need to go through Chris. So on August 30th, 2 days later, I made contact with Josh's attorney, Christopher Immel, again, now it's spelled differently, regarding his client and speaking with him. Mr. Immel advised that he had spoken with Josh after Josh talked to Detective Reese, and Josh was once again being dragged through the mud on social media, and he had no wish to be involved with this or to relive the events of the day. Mr. Immel stated that Josh had told him about this conversation with Detective Reese, and that Josh had reiterated to him that he had never told anyone that Mr. Macron had anything tied around his leg or legs. I advised Attorney Immel that I was taking all follow-up involving the Macron case and would like to talk with Josh myself if possible, and I did not have an issue if he were present for that. I explained that Josh was not facing any criminal charges and that I just wanted to confirm what he had already told me. Attorney Immel stated that he would make contact with Josh and get back to me with his wishes. I advised I just wanted to know about the alleged comment to Mr. Andrew Berger about removing something from Mr. Macron's leg prior to his body being removed from the lake. And also if he had texted Miss Macron recently about wanting to talk to her. He stated that he would talk with Josh and that he had been informed that Detective Reese had mentioned a CVSA, which is like a lie detector test, for Josh, and that he would never allow a client to participate in that. We ended our call, and Attorney Immel advised he would contact Josh and get back to me at a later time. Later this same day, Attorney Immel called me back and advised that he had spoken with Josh, and that Josh again advised he had not made any comment to Mr. Berger about cutting or removing anything from Mr. Macron's leg prior to being pulled up in the water. He also stated that Josh denied, again, this is imperative, he also stated that Josh denied making contact with Miss Macron recently, and added that due to the constant messages and contact, Josh has blocked Miss Macron on all social media and other platform years ago. Now, I guess that's somewhat true. 2020. This is 2023, so it's 3 years later that he has now blocked Miss Macron, but he originally reached out to her. And again, 2020 was well after the recovery of Bryon. So I'm going back on to the statement here. He is unsure of who that person was, but it was during the time of the recovery, so the number of persons on the boat would have been minimal. I thanked Attorney Immel for his time and help and ended the call. Upon advising the administration of my call with Mr. Immel, I was told that the alleged text message from Josh to Miss Macron had occurred shortly after the recovery. Imagine that. Imagine that. 2020 is not close to the body's recovery, right? I know. This was a misunderstanding on my part, so I attempted to clarify this with Attorney Immel, and we'll check into the possibility of any text messages being stored at Josh's cell phone provider. This is an ongoing and further investigation will take place. Now, I'm not aware, I don't recall at this point if there was any follow-up done on his text messages. There was follow-up done on Facebook Meta, and Facebook Meta basically came back and stated that there was no responsive records to their request. So again, we have an instance where this guy, and we're going to go into the text messages next. Let's just do that. Let's get into the text messages next, but just again, Bryon's body being recovered from Chippewa Lake. The messages were in 2020. This was not around the time that Bryon's body was recovered from Chippewa Lake. So we're going to get into these Facebook messages that Josh Knopfs, and again, he changed his name from Josh Wilfong to Josh Noss, and I'll talk about that here in 1 second, but just so we're not getting confused, this is the same Josh Wilfong, contacts Victoria Macron on Facebook. And we're going to read through these sort of verbatim, because I think they're sort of important to go back, to some of these questions that we're having relative to was there anything tied to Bryon Macron's foot. So it starts off, this is October of 2019. He sends a message, "Hi, Vicky. I know this is out of the blue, but are they making any progress with Bryon's case? I miss that guy." So Victoria, I don't know. I have discussed these Facebook messages with her, but I don't know. I can't recall. She doesn't respond until the 21st, maybe because they weren't friends, I believe, maybe on Facebook, but it takes her a bit to respond back. But she does respond back and says, "Hi, Josh. We are. It's the longest and tedious process, especially when the locals let it get cold because of their unconscionable behavior. Thank you for checking in. I hope all is well with you. We miss Bryon beyond words, and we will get justice for him. They thought I would walk away. Well, one thing you learn from being a Marine Corps wife, you never give up." All right. So then he responds back. That's October of 2019. He responds September 24th of 2020. He says, "Hi, Vicky. I'm listening to the podcast and Go Ships. I'm listening to the podcast. Any way to get in contact with him? I'd love to sit down and talk with him about what happened at the FD when Bryon went missing." So she responds back relatively quick, same day, just a couple of minutes later, actually. "Sure, I can get it. Could you and I also sit down and talk too? I know the deputy said no searching, correct? Vicky, we need to talk. There is so much that never happened that should have. Searches, water search, so much." So Vicky responds, "I figured I would really like to talk wherever is good, or whenever is good for you." She gives Darren Knopp, who is the Invisible Ships, one of the Invisible Ships podcasters, phone number. Says, "I work till 4:30. I can meet anytime after or over the weekend." He responds, "Well, crap, I work nights all weekend. Next week, in and out of town." She responds, "I don't work Saturday. Would you be available at any time?" He responds, "I'll try. I'll know tomorrow." She responds, "Okay, Josh, I can't thank you enough. This means so much to me, and I appreciate it." And then he responds, "I've had lots of questions for years." And she responds, "I'm extremely grateful to you. Nothing is too small. Everything, every detail matters. Thank you for helping get justice for Bryon." So again, this is September 24th. We're going to go to October 16th. "Hi, Vicky. Would you be all right with me talking to the podcast guy?" And she responds, "Absolutely. I would definitely talk to them. They're great guys. Thank you. I have a question for you. Do you ever remember Linda sending an email to everyone saying they could not talk to me?" He responds, "I remember being told not to talk, or I remember being told not to, not sure about an email." Now, there's 2 phone calls that they exchange, and I don't know definitively if they made contact or not. But you can see the audio calls coming up here. And I don't know. This is cut off. This is a public records request from Medina County Sheriff's Department. This top portion is cut off. I don't know what it is, states. And okay, no problem. So again, October 16th, I was just thinking, this is Victoria, if you didn't want to be identified or want to change your voice in the interview to protect your identity, I'm sure they could do that for you. It says, "Long story, but I actually resigned Monday." Victoria responds, "I hope you're on to better things. The department is quickly going downhill, and you guys, you good guys, and the ladies deserve so much better." He responds, "With the free time, I'm going to go to nursing school." She responds, "That's wonderful. We need good nurses. You'll be great." Again, there's something that's cut off here. He says, "I do." She responds, "What does your schedule look like? What works for you?" He responds, "I work all weekend, but am free Monday." She responds, "Okay, I'm off work Monday. What time is good? You can come to my house if you're okay with that." He responds, "House around 2:30. She responds, "That's good." So at 8:05 p.m. at October 25th, 2020, he messages, "Still good for tomorrow." And she responds back a little over an hour later saying, "Yes, thank you." So he responds, I think this is supposed to be at 2:17 p.m. on October 26th, something about his daughter being sick at school. Victoria responds, "Okay, I hope she feels better soon." "Me too, thanks," he says. So May 15th at 8:56 p.m. "Hi, Josh, just reaching out because I never got to ask about the day Bryon was found and the recovery. Could you tell me about that day? Now, how it was decided who would be in the water? Do you know if he was tied to anything or was he floating?" No response. So she responds the next day, later in the afternoon at 5:23 p.m., May 16th. Hello, would you be available to talk sometime? And no response. A couple hours later, hi, Josh, would you be available to talk? And she continues, never got to ask about that day Bryon was found and the recovery. Could you tell me about the day, how it was decided, who would be in the water? Do you know if he was tied to anything or was he floating? And you can see, I'm not going to keep reading the dates. Hello, would you be able to talk sometime? Hi, Josh, would you be available to talk? Hi, Josh, would you be available to talk? Hello, why won't you talk to me? And it looks like the last message was sent July 25th at 2:04 p.m. So Josh has this period of life where he wants to talk to her. He references wanting to talk to her relative to the recovery, or at least talking to the podcast people about the recovery, which he never does. And then he is supposed to be talking to Victoria. He's supposed to meet up with Victoria. He cancels that, and then he just ghosts from there. So let's get back to the name change. All right. Court records show that on August 21st, 2019, Joshua Wayne Wilfong filed to change his name to Joshua Wayne Knopfs. The case was closed October 7th, 2019. So I ask at least, why the change? And we don't know. We're still trying to dig. So this is the letter here that I have. The attorney Paticus letter also points to suspicious invoices tied to Costello, Bowers, and another individual we'll name in a future segment when we're talking about the invoices. And plus allegations about hidden cameras and contradictory firefighter statements. And I know the cameras came up in the last township meeting. I was in attendance for that. There was some intriguing conversation relative to that, and I probably will be showing some of that when we talk about the cameras coming up, the covert cameras. So again, where does it leave us? You have 3 witnesses, 1 sheriff, an attorney's letter, and a pile of contradictions. If the official story still makes sense to you after this, you're not paying attention. So next time, we're going to break down a little more of these firefighter statements and why they matter and why they could blow a hole straight through the whole suicide theory. Be loud, be heard, shake the system until the truth falls out. Until next time.